"Sir, step back or we call the cops." The guy said that while standing on my roof, ripping my solar panels off with a crowbar. I woke up to metal screaming, bolts snapping, glass shattering on my driveway. 700 a.m. on a Tuesday. Ran outside in boxers barefoot on gravel that tore into my heels. 3 workers, orange vests, dismantling $40,000 of equipment I'd saved 2 years to buy. "Who sent you?" One pointed down. Ben Keller, HOA president, standing on my lawn in yoga pants. Blonde bob perfect holding a clipboard like a weapon. "Violation notice," she said, smiling. "I have county permits." "Don't care." HOA overrides county. My inverter sparked, smoke curled up, the smell of burning money. Here's what she didn't know. I used to rewire power grids in Iraq. What would you do? Back down or fight back? Comment below. Watching from an HOA neighborhood, you'll want to hear this. That morning, I started planning how to cut power to 87 houses, including hers. Let me back up. My name's Dex, 52, former Navy electrical engineer. I spent 12 years rewiring substations in Iraq, places where one blown circuit meant an entire base went dark. After discharge, I did private consulting until my marriage quietly fell apart. The divorce was clean. My ex-wife, Lacey, and I split everything 50-50, including custody of our daughter, Skylar. She's 17, wants to study environmental science at CU Boulder. Smart kid. She's the reason I went solar. 18 months ago, I bought a house in Pinehaven Estates, a suburb outside Denver where every house looks like it was sneezed out of the same Lowe's catalog. Beige siding, 2-car garages, lawns trimmed with military precision, except mine. I bought the oldest, smallest house on the block, a 1990s ranch the previous owner had neglected. Peeling paint, overgrown shrubs, a roof that had seen better decades. It was all I could afford post-divorce, but it had one thing going for it. A south-facing roof that got 10 hours of sunlight daily, perfect for solar. I saved for 2 years, $40,000 for a Tesla array and Powerwall battery. The goal? Eliminate my $300 monthly electric bill and funnel the savings into Skylar's college fund. Scholarships covered half her tuition. I needed to cover the rest. I filed every county permit, passed every inspection. The system went live in April. By June, my meter ran backwards. I was producing more power than I used. It felt like beating the system. The previous owner told me the HOA was chill. Just pay dues, don't make waves. He never mentioned architectural approval forms. I never thought to ask. That was mistake number 1. Now, Ben Keller, she's 48, real estate agent, moved to Pinehaven 5 years ago with her husband Troy, a city councilman who introduces himself as Councilman Troy Keller at block parties. Bryn's got a blonde bob that doesn't move in hurricane winds. And she power walks the neighborhood every morning at 6:30 holding a Starbucks latte like an Olympic torch. 3 years ago, she ran for HOA president unopposed. Most neighbors just want to grill on weekends and ignore the newsletter. Bryn won by apathy and has stayed in power the same way, running against nobody. She's obsessed with property values, which really means she hates anything that doesn't look like her vision of suburban perfection. My house, too small, too old. My truck has a Union sticker. I don't golf. I skipped the 4th of July mixer. Apparently, that made me a problem. Here's what I didn't know. Troy sits on the City Council's Energy Committee, and Rocky Mountain Power, our local utility monopoly, pays him $8 grand a year in consulting fees. Public record if you know where to look. Solar panels cut grid dependence. Less dependence means less profit. You connect the dots. On the morning my roof got demolished, I stood barefoot on gravel, blood seeping from cuts on my heels, watching 3 workers rip apart my investment. Bryn handed me a violation notice. Section 14. 3. No exterior modifications without board approval. I have county permits. County permits don't override HOA bylaws. She smiled like a realtor closing a bad deal. Remove the panels in 30 days, or it's $500 per day in fines. She walked to her Lexus. White, spotless, vanity plate, sold it. I wanted to laugh or scream. I didn't either. Here's the thing about working on power grids and combat zones. You learn patience. You learn to think 3 moves ahead. And you learn that the person who controls the electricity controls everything. Skylar came home at 3:30, saw the shattered panels, the dangling wires, the scorch marks where the inverter died. She'd written her college essay about this project, about her dad making a difference. She cried on the driveway. Jasmine from Bryn's perfume still hung in the air, mixing with burnt plastic and the smell of defeat. I hugged my daughter and made a promise. Bryn just declared war on the wrong guy. Humorous aside, creeping into my brain. Bryn thought she crushed me. Lady, I once negotiated with an Iraqi contractor holding an AK-47 over a wiring dispute. Your clipboard doesn't scare me. Ben didn't waste time. 2 days after the roof incident, a certified letter arrived from county zoning. Someone filed a complaint claiming my solar installation violated building codes, unpermitted, unsafe, the whole 9 yards. The signature read, "Concerned neighbor." The return address? Bryn's real estate office on Maple Street. She wasn't even trying to hide it. I drove to the county building that afternoon. The waiting room smelled like industrial cleaner and decades of bureaucratic surrender. 40 minutes in a plastic chair before an inspector named Doug finally called me back. He pulled up my file on a computer that looked like it ran on Windows 95. "Your permits are spotless," Doug said, squinting at the screen. "Installation passed inspection in April. I signed off personally." Someone's wasting everyone's time here. Can you kill the complaint? I have to log it, and they're requesting reinspection. He sighed. 3 weeks to schedule. Sorry. 3 weeks of Bryn telling neighbors my house was a ticking time bomb. I drove home and found a cease and desist letter taped to my door. 2 pages of legal jargon from someone named Clayton Voss, Esquire. The letterhead showed an address on the same street as Councilman Troy Keller, brother-in-law lawyer. Discount intimidation for family rates. The letter demanded I remove the panels within 14 days or face a lawsuit. I photographed it and posted in the Pinehaven Facebook group with a simple caption. This is what HOA leadership looks like. Within an hour, Bryn counter-posted. Reminder, exterior modifications require board approval per Section 14. 3. One rogue homeowner is ignoring community standards and threatening your property values. The board will protect this neighborhood. 12 instant likes. Her yoga cult probably. But then my phone started buzzing. Private message from Greta. 3 streets over. She fined me $800 last year for a little free library painted unauthorized teal for kids. She made me dismantle it. I'm so sorry you're dealing with this. Message from Heron. She tried fining me $1,200 for an EV charger. I pulled up Colorado SB 19046. State law says HOAs can't ban EV infrastructure. She backed off but never forgave me. I'll help however I can. Message from Felix. Got ring footage. Timestamp shows been directing those workers onto your roof. Want the file? I sat at my kitchen table staring at my phone. The overhead light buzzed like a trapped wasp. For the first time in 3 days, I smiled. Bryn had been running this grift for years, picking off anyone who didn't fit her beige siding fever dream, finding them into silence. Everyone too exhausted or scared to push back, but she'd just pissed off someone who knew how to organize. That evening, I pulled the HOA's architectural guidelines, all 47 pages. My eyes were crossing by page 30 when I found it. Section 14. 3. Subsection C. Energy efficiency improvements, including solar installations, are exempt from prior approval, provided they meet county building standards. Added in 2019, 2 years before Bryn took office. She'd been citing a rule that explicitly didn't apply to me. I called a paralegal the next morning. Mary and Chase worked out of a strip mall office that smelled like burnt coffee and righteous anger. Late 30s power suit, the kind of handshake that said, "I eat bullies for breakfast." She read my file in under 20 minutes. Easiest case I've seen this month. Your panels comply with county code and the HOA's own bylaws. She's got nothing. So what's my move? Marion grinned. We call her bluff loudly. She printed 87 letters, one for every household. Each included Section 14. 3C, a timeline of Bryn's harassment, and one question in bold. Did you know your HOA president ignores the rules she claims to enforce? I delivered them after sunset. 87 mail slots, my calves burned by house 40. The smell of fresh-cut grass and sprinkler mist followed me through the neighborhood like a witness. The next night, I was grilling chicken when someone knocked on my fence gate. Troy Keller, the councilman. No suit tonight, just jeans and a polo. His cologne arrived 3 seconds before he did. Aggressive cedarwood announcing dominance. Got a minute? His voice was casual. His eyes weren't. I turned off the grill. Sure. He glanced around, checking for cameras, maybe. Then he dropped his voice. Off the record, you need to drop this. You're making things complicated. Code enforcement can get very interested in older homes. Permit delays happen. Inspections get thorough, or you take down the panels, and this all disappears. I'd rewired substations in Fallujah. You learn fast. Always assume someone's listening. I'd hit record on my phone before he even opened his mouth. Back in Iraq, a staff sergeant taught me that in single-party consent states, you can record any conversation you're in without telling the other person. Saved 3 guys from a wrongful court-martial once. Say that part about code enforcement again? I asked. Troy's face cycled through pale, then red, then something close to purple. He walked out without another word. That night, Skylar found me in the kitchen, backing up the audio file to 3 different drives. Dad, are we going to be okay? I looked at my daughter, 17, scared because some power-drunk realtor couldn't handle rooftop solar panels. We're staying, I said. And we're winning. You know why bullies win? Because people run. We're not running. Outside, the neighbors' sprinklers hissed their rhythmic whisper. The smell of charred chicken clung to my shirt. War was officially on. Bryn called an emergency HOA board meeting. The notice went out 48 hours before, exactly the minimum required by bylaws. Tuesday night, 7 p.m., Community Center. Agenda: vote to authorize legal action against 428 Ridgewood Lane. My address? I showed up 15 minutes early. The room smelled like old carpet and decades of potluck dinners. Folding chairs faced a table where Bryn sat flanked by her 2 bored puppets. Luther, a retired dentist who'd agree the sky was green if she said so, and Joss, a terrified stay-at-home mom who looked like she'd rather be getting a root canal. 32 people filled the chairs. I recognized maybe half. The rest were Bryn's yoga cult, women in Lululemon, who didn't even live here, but apparently got to vote anyway. Bryn gave the meeting open with a wooden block that looked stolen from a courtroom. We're addressing a serious violation threatening property values. She clicked through a PowerPoint. Photos of my house zoomed in on the solar panels, like a murder scene. Quotes from Section 14. 3 with subsection C mysteriously missing. A chart showing estimated property value impact that looked like a middle schooler made it in Microsoft Paint. The board recommends authorizing legal action. All in favor? Luther's hand shot up instantly. I just hesitated, glanced at me. Then at Bryn, her voice came out as a whisper. I abstain. Bryn's smile could have cut glass. 2-0. Motion carries. We're retaining Richardson and Blake LLP immediately. Someone behind me asked, What's that going to cost? $15,000 retainer. Bryn said a necessary investment. 15 grand out of HOA reserves. No membership vote. Just Bryn weaponizing community funds for a personal grudge. The meeting ended 10 minutes later. I caught Harlan by the door. She just spent $15,000 without asking anyone, he said. That can't be legal. It's not, I replied. How many signatures do we need to recall her? 75% of homeowners, 65 people. His face fell. She'll never give us the member list. Then we get creative. Over the next 3 days, my mailbox became a war zone. Bryn hired an inspector. Some guy with a clipboard hunting for violations. I got slammed with 4 fines. Mailbox rust, $150. Lawn too tall, $200. Forgot Christmas lights in the garage eve, $100. Trash bins visible from street, $175. $625 for infractions I could disprove in 10 minutes. I photographed every mailbox on my street. 9 had rust. I measured my lawn with a ruler. 4 inches. Well under the 275 limit. I timestamped photos of my trash bins next to 4 neighbors who had theirs out the same day. Selective enforcement. Textbook harassment. Perfect evidence for my counterclaim. While Bryn played petty tyrant, I went hunting in public records. 2 hours on the city website, and I found gold. Troy's annual financial disclosure. Page 3 right there in black and white. Rocky Mountain Power LLC Consulting Services. $8,000 annually. The councilman on the Energy Committee was taking money from the utility company while his wife waged war on solar panels. The conflict of interest was so blatant it practically glowed. I drafted a Medium article that night. 3 revisions to keep it factual. Not angry. How one HOA president's husband profits from blocking clean energy. Screenshots of Troy's disclosure. Bryn's violation notices the whole timeline. But I didn't publish it. Not yet. You don't fire your biggest gun first. Marion called with better news. She'd found something in the HOA's master insurance policy. A clause requiring reasonable reserves for an 87-home community. Minimum $50,000. Current balance per the annual report $61,000. Bryn just dropped 15 grand on lawyers. That left $46,000 below the legal minimum. Back in the Navy, a supply officer taught me about fiduciary duty during a deployment audit. He'd explained that boards who mismanage funds don't just lose lawsuits. Board members lose personal assets, houses, cars, retirement accounts, everything on the table. Marion confirmed it. Drop below minimum reserves and homeowners can sue the board members personally. Not the HOA, the actual people, their personal assets are on the line. How long before she hits that threshold? 2 months, maybe 3. Depends how much her lawyers bill. Bryn was digging her own grave without even knowing it. That evening, Heron showed up with a 12-pack and a laptop. We sat at my kitchen table while the overhead fan clicked its uneven rhythm, going through 3 years of HOA meeting minutes. Bryn had approved her own consulting contract, $500 a month to Keller and Associates for administrative services. No competitive bids, no discussion recorded, $18,000 over 3 years, paid directly to herself. Then we found the landscaping contract $3,200 to Mountain Vista LLC owned by Clayton Voss, her brother-in-law lawyer. Another line item $1,800 for Property IQ Pro, Zillow's premium real estate tool. Personal business expense billed to the HOA. Total stolen roughly $28,000. Harlan leaned back in his chair. We've got her. Not yet, I said. One mistake, and she claims we're on a witch hunt. This has to be perfect. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Back off, or your daughter's college apps get interesting. I showed Harlan, his jaw clenched. That's witness intimidation. Forward it to police. Now I did. Filed a report online. Saved screenshots to 3 drives. The kitchen smelled like stale beer and cold pizza. Outside, a car alarm chirped once and went silent. The neighborhood felt like it was holding its breath. Bryn thought she was tightening the noose around my neck. She just tied her own. Bryn filed the lawsuit on Monday morning. HOA versus Dex Monroe County Court seeking $25,000 in damages plus force panel removal. 12 pages of legal fiction claiming my installation was dangerous, unsightly, and unauthorized. All lies, but now they were official lies with a court stamp. Within an hour, she posted on Nextdoor, forced to take legal action to protect your property investments. Some homeowners refuse to follow basic rules. 43 reactions. I couldn't tell if people were angry at her or me, but the comments section turned into a dumpster fire within minutes. Then came the emergency assessment. Special meeting 2 p.m., Tuesday, middle of a workday when most people worked. Single agenda item. Vote on $400 per household legal defense fund. I had a consulting job I couldn't cancel. Neither could most neighbors. 19 people showed up out of 87 households. Barely made quorum. The vote passed 191-17. And just like that, Bryn authorized $34,000 to fund her personal war. Assessment notices arrived in bright yellow envelopes that screamed urgent. The smell of cheap ink and cheaper intimidation. Pay within 30 days or face a property lien. My phone started ringing that night. Neighbors I'd never met asking, "Is this really about solar panels?" I sent them everything. Permits, the bylaw exemption, evidence of embezzlement. Some believed me, some didn't. But enough people got angry that something shifted in the neighborhood's atmosphere. Greta organized a counter-petition demanding a full financial audit. 31 signatures in 48 hours. Bryn's response came via 2-sentence email. Audit not required until fiscal year end per bylaws. Your petition is noted. Translation: sit down and shut up. 2 families listed their homes for sale that week. The younger couple with a newborn told me they couldn't handle the constant stress and surprise fees. We thought HOAs made life easier, the husband said, dark circles under his eyes, like he hadn't slept in weeks. Bryn posted about the listings on Facebook. Unfortunate that some homeowners would rather flee than address problems created by their neighbors. She was blaming me for the exodus. The gaslighting was world-class. Marion filed our counterclaim on Friday. $60,000 in damages for harassment, property destruction, and due process violations. She also filed an ethics complaint against Clayton Voss. Turns out he sat on the insurance board for the company covering the HOA. Massive conflict of interest. By Friday afternoon, Clayton withdrew his counsel. Bryn had to find new lawyers, burning more reserve funds. I could almost hear the dominoes falling. But here's where things got interesting. I'd been studying the neighborhood's electrical infrastructure for weeks, looking for any leverage I could find. Pinehaven ran on a single transformer serving all 87 homes plus the community center. One transformer, one point of failure. The transformer sat on an easement cutting through HOA common ground near the playground. I spent 3 afternoons at the county records office digging through 1998 development blueprints, documents so old they smelled like basement mold and bureaucratic decay. That's when I found it. The utility easement included a right-of-way clause that ran directly through my property line. I had legal access to the transformer area, not just Rocky Mountain Power. Me as an easement stakeholder. If the transformer needed maintenance, if access was obstructed, if someone noticed safety violations, well, all I had to do was point the right people in the right direction. I called Rocky Mountain P's customer line. HOA President's landscaping is blocking transformer access. Overgrown shrubs, missing safety signage, possible code violations. The rep took my complaint. Inspector scheduled within a week. 3 days later, a utility van pulled up. The inspector spent 40 minutes examining the transformer, taking photos, checking clearances. He left a bright orange violation notice zip tied to the fence. I photographed it before Bryn could rip it down. The notice cited obstructed access, inadequate clearance, and here's the kicker, load capacity concerns, required immediate remediation and full transformer assessment. That transformer was installed in 1998, 27 years old. Standard transformer lifespan 25 to 30 years. If the utility decided it needed replacement during their assessment, the neighborhood would go dark for 2 to 3 days during installation. My solar setup with a Powerwall battery could keep my house running for 72 hours easy. The optics would be perfect. Bryn's house dark while mine stayed lit. Visual metaphor you couldn't script better if you tried. That night Skylar found me at the kitchen table surrounded by electrical diagrams and county blueprints. The papers smelled like old libraries and future victories. "Dad, you're not doing anything illegal, right?" she asked. Her voice had that teenage mix of concern and hope, like she wanted me to fight, but didn't want me to become what we were fighting against. "I'm not touching anything," I said. "I'm just making sure the utility company does their job properly. If Bryn's negligence created a safety hazard, that's on her, not me." She studied my face for a long moment, then nodded. "Good, because you're teaching me that you can fight without becoming the bad guy." Smart kid. Too smart sometimes. Outside, the neighborhood was quiet, except for the distant hum of that aging transformer. The air tasted like pending rain and burnt coffee. Bryn had built her empire on fear and selective enforcement. I was about to show her what happens when someone actually understands the infrastructure she'd been taking for granted. And honestly, I was starting to enjoy this. Marian called Wednesday morning while I was replacing a blown fuse in my garage. "Get to my office now." Her voice had that prosecutor edge. The one that meant someone was about to have a very bad day. I drove across town with my windows down, spring air whipping through the cab. My hands drummed the steering wheel. Whatever Marian found, it was big enough to bypass her usual professional calm. Her office was in a strip mall between a nail salon and a tax preparer. The waiting room smelled like nail polish remover mixing with burnt coffee, a smell that somehow perfectly captured small-time legal warfare. Marian met me at the door. "Luther sang like a canary," she said, pulling me into her office. 40 minutes of deposition, and he completely fell apart. She had her laptop open to a video file. "Watch this." She hit play. Luther appeared on screen, sitting in a conference room that looked designed to make people uncomfortable. Fluorescent lights, beige walls, a water picture nobody had touched. Marian's voice came through off camera, calm and relentless. "Mr. Luther, did you review HOA expenditures before approving them?" Luther shifted in his chair. "Bryn usually handles the details." I trusted her. "Did you know that landscaping contract, the $3,200 one, went to her brother-in-law's company?" His face went pale. I know. She said it was the best bid. There was only one bid, Mr. Luther, from her family. The video showed Luther's hand starting to shake. He reached for the water pitcher, nearly knocked it over. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. What about the management consulting fees? $500 a month to Keller and Associates. That's standard, right? HOAs need management help. Mr. Luther, Keller and Associates is Bryn's company. She voted to pay herself. The silence on the video lasted maybe 10 seconds. It felt like an hour. Then Luther started crying. Not sobbing, just tears running down his face while he stared at the table. Oh God! Oh God! I'm going to lose my house, aren't I? Marion stopped the video. I sat there feeling like I'd just watched someone's life implode in real time. He had no idea. I asked. None. He's a retired dentist who wanted to feel important. Been fed him agendas. He rubber-stamped them, and she ran the HOA like her personal checking account. Marion pulled out a single sheet of paper, a summary she compiled. Here's what we found. She's been doing this for 3 years. The paper showed a timeline I could barely process. Monthly payments to her company, one-time expenses to family members, LLCs, even smaller stuff. A subscription service here, consulting fees there, all of it funneling back to Bryn or her immediate circle. The total, $28,000. But here's what matters. Marion leaned forward, and I caught a whiff of her perfume mixed with the office's perpetual coffee smell. In Colorado, HOA board members are fiduciaries. You know what that means? They're legally responsible, personally responsible. If they breach that duty, homeowners can sue them directly, not the HOA them. Their houses, their bank accounts, their retirement funds. She let me absorb that. Bryn doesn't just lose her position, she loses everything. I thought about how Bryn had stood on my lawn watching workers destroy my solar panels. How she'd smirked when handing me violation notices. How she'd threatened my daughter's college future. She felt untouchable because she'd been running the scam so long that nobody questioned it anymore. What's our move? I asked. Marion's smile was pure predator. We let every homeowner know their president's been stealing from them, and we give them a choice. Join a class action or watch from the sidelines. She handed me a USB drive. Everything's on here. Bank records, Luther's deposition, meeting minutes showing her voting on her own contracts. Make copies. Hide them. If my office burns down tomorrow, we need backups. I pocketed the drive. Through Marion's office window, I could see the parking lot baking in afternoon sun. A minivan pulled in. Soccer mom herding 3 kids toward the tax place. Normal life happening while we plotted to dismantle someone's world. But Bryn had started this. She'd weaponized the HOA, stolen from neighbors, and tried to crush anyone who didn't fit her vision of suburban perfection. I just found the hammer to break her crown. When do we file? I asked. Tomorrow morning, Marion said. I want her served before she has coffee. Sunday morning, I made waffles. Skylar was at her mom's for the weekend, so I had the house to myself in a plan that needed co-conspirators. I texted Marion, Heron, and Greta. Come hungry. Bring ideas. We're going to war. By 9 a.m., my kitchen table looked like a campaign headquarters. Harlan showed up with a whiteboard he borrowed from his church's Sunday school room. Greta arrived carrying a 3-ring binder she'd labeled Bryn's greatest hits in red marker. Every fine, every violation notice, every petty tyranny from the past 2 years, organized by date. Marion came last, hauling a leather briefcase that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage and smelled like expensive litigation. We ate waffles standing up because every horizontal surface was covered in documents. The kitchen smelled like maple syrup fighting printer ink for dominance. Outside, someone was mowing their lawn on a Sunday. Bold move in an HOA that mandated Saturday-only mowing. I respected the rebellion. 3 fronts, Marion said, drawing columns on Harlan's whiteboard with a Sharpa that squeaked like a dog toy. Legal, community, and infrastructure. We hit her everywhere at once, so she can't defend any single position. She wrote legal at the top of column 1. I'm filing the amended counterclaim Wednesday. Fraud, breach of fiduciary duty, harassment, but I'm also filing with the Colorado Attorney General. Will they actually investigate? Greta asked. Marion's smile was pure shark. AG's office monitors HOA complaints. Last year, they criminally prosecuted 2 board presidents for embezzlement. Once I file, it becomes public record. And here's something most people don't know. Reporters monitor AG complaint filings like hawks. We won't need to call the media. They'll call us. Heron typed something on his laptop. I already reached out to someone, Nia Park at the Denver Suburban Chronicle. She's covered 3 HOA scandals this year. She's interested. Good. Marion said feed her everything once the court filings are public. Bank statements, Luther's deposition video, meeting minutes, nothing confidential. Just make sure she connects the dots loudly. Greta flipped open her binder. It was organized with color-coded tabs, like she was prosecuting a RICO case. Community mobilization. I've got 42 people in a private Facebook group. Everyone who's been fined or threatened. They're terrified, but they're pissed. They just need permission to fight back. Town hall meeting. I said, this Saturday, the pavilion, we invite all 87 households, lay out the evidence, and force Bryn to either show up and defend herself or hide like a coward. Harlan started typing. I'll make flyers. How's this for a headline? Your HOA president stole $28,000. Here's how we know. Too aggressive, Greta said. People will think it's fake news. How about HOA financial records revealed? What the board doesn't want you to see, Marion suggested. Creates curiosity without making claims we have to defend. Perfect, I said. Print 200. We blanket the neighborhood. Marion added town hall to her column. We need visual aids. I'll print the bank statements in 20 font. Giant timeline of every questionable expense. Make it so simple a kindergartner could follow the money. I'll bring a projector, Harlan said. Show Luther's deposition. Let people watch him cry when he realizes he's been used. Greta looked uncomfortable. That feels mean. He voted to steal from his neighbors for 3 years, Marion said. Ignorance isn't innocence when you're a fiduciary. Which reminds me, she turned to me. You said something about infrastructure. Here we go. I pulled out the utility company's inspection report from last week. The orange violation notice they'd zip tied to the transformer fence. Rocky Mountain Power flagged safety issues, blocked access, overgrown vegetation, missing signage. They're scheduling a comprehensive assessment. What does that mean? Greta asked. I'd been thinking about this for days, ever since I'd studied the original 1998 development blueprints at the county office. Transformers that old were supposed to be stress-tested regularly, but utilities often deferred maintenance until someone complained. I complained, loud and documented. It means when they test the transformer, there's a solid chance it fails inspection. Standard protocol would be immediate replacement. How long would we be without power? Harlan asked. Utility estimates 2 to 3 days for a full swap. I let that sink in. My house stays powered the entire time. Solar array plus battery backup. I tested it last week. 72 hours minimum. Longer if I'm conservative with AC usage. Harlan started laughing. Oh no! Oh no! So, you're going to make her house go dark while yours stays lit during the town hall meeting. I'm not making anything happen, I corrected. I filed legitimate safety complaints through proper channels. If the utility company determines the equipment needs replacement, that's their professional judgment based on engineering standards and safety codes. I just happen to have prepared for infrastructure failure because I'm a responsible homeowner who understands electrical systems. Marion was trying not to smile. That's diabolical. That's just good planning, I said. Remember when I worked in Iraq? We had a saying. Amateurs talk strategy. Professionals talk logistics. Bryn's been playing checkers with HOA bylaws. I'm playing chess with the power grid. We spent the next 2 hours dividing responsibilities. Greta would coordinate the Facebook group and organize door-to-door flyer distribution. Harlan's son would build a website, PinehavenTruth.com, posting all public records. Marion would handle legal filings and media coordination. I'd manage the utility company timeline and make sure the inspection happened before Saturday. By noon, we'd made a significant dent in my coffee supply, and the whiteboard looked like a military operation chart. Arrows connected boxes. Timelines branched into contingencies. If Bryn did X, we'd respond with Y. If she tried Z, we had A and B ready. Marion packed her briefcase. 7 days. If she's smart, she resigns quietly and tries to cut a deal. She won't, I said. Her ego's too big. Good, Marion said, because this is going to be fun. After everyone left, I stood at my sink washing waffle plates and looking out at the neighborhood. Spring afternoon, perfect weather, kids playing basketball 3 houses down, normal suburban Sunday. In 7 days, none of this would be the same. I thought about that supply sergeant in Baghdad again, the one who taught me that wars are won by controlling resources and information. Bryn had controlled both for years, but she'd made one critical mistake. She'd assumed nobody else understood the systems she was exploiting. I'd spent my entire career understanding systems, electrical grids, supply chains, organizational hierarchies. You learn the system, you find the pressure points, you apply force exactly where it matters most. Saturday was going to be educational for everyone involved. Tuesday night, someone spray painted my truck. I discovered it Wednesday morning walking out for coffee. Big red letters across the driver's side. Leach. Smaller text on the tailgate. Get out. The paint was still tacky. Smelled like hardware store aerosol mixed with someone's desperation. I took photos from 6 angles. Then called the police. The cop who showed up looked barely old enough to rent a car. Took a report with the enthusiasm of someone filling out tax forms. Then my neighbor Felix walked over holding his phone. Got it on Ring camera, Felix said. 2 a.m., white Lexus. 3 passes before someone got out. He showed the footage. Grainy, but clear enough. The license plate caught a street light reflection, sold it. Bryn's vanity plate. The cop's whole demeanor shifted. He took Felix's statement, requested the video file, upgraded my report from simple vandalism to criminal mischief with harassment enhancement. By noon, 2 detectives were at Bryn's door. Harlan's wife worked dispatch and gave me details later. Bryn claimed her car never left the garage. Anyone could have faked her plates. She wanted her lawyer present immediately. That afternoon, my truck wouldn't start. Just that clicking sound mechanics recognize as expensive news. I popped the hood and found the fuel system clogged with something crystalline. Had it towed to Raoul's shop. He's been fixing my vehicle since Skylar was in elementary school. He showed me the fuel filter. Shaking his head. Someone dumped something in your tank. Sugar, probably. People see it in movies and think it'll blow up the engine, but it just clogs everything. Whoever did this got their sabotage education from Netflix. $1,200 to flush the system, replace the filter and fuel pump. I filed another police report. The stack was getting thick enough to use as a door stop. Wednesday evening, the neighborhood Facebook page caught fire. Someone posted our town hall flyer, the one about financial records being revealed Saturday. Within an hour, Bryn counterposted misinformation campaign by disgruntled homeowner board taking appropriate legal action. Then 30 minutes later, due to frivolous litigation, HOA may be forced to dissolve. Your property values will collapse. Thank those who refuse to follow basic community rules. She was playing the property value card. Make people choose between their money and the truth. Greta fired back within minutes. Section 12 of HOA bylaws requires accurate financial records and member access to audits. Why won't President Keller release bank statements? 43 likes in 10 minutes. The tide was shifting, and Bryn could feel it.